This is our first review for 2020, and it's Hyundai Tucson. Tucson has lots of party tricks, but my favourite is this, the automatic rear hatch. You just stand here for long enough with the key in your bag and it opens for you. You might think that's a bit twee, but believe me, when you've got your arms full of groceries, this thing is brilliant. As I walk up to the car, the mirrors come out and it's ready for me to get in. And it's now open. Locking, just press it again and the car's locked and the mirrors fold away. The side profile looks rather smart. I normally don't like this kick up at the back, but it's enhanced by lots of chrome and there's an integrated roof rail so that you can attach things to the top. And the top model gets these smart 19-inch wheels. Active replaces the old entry-level model, which was Go, because they've added some stuff to it. And the bottom two models get 17 and 18-inch wheels. They miss out on a few other things too, but only the bottom model misses out on the fabulous Infinity sound system, but more about that when we get inside. There's 3 engines, 4 transmissions, 2 drivetrains. You can get front or all-wheel drive, and you can get a 2-litre diesel across all models with all-wheel drive and an 8-speed auto. This fantastic 1.6 litre turbo with a 7-speed DCT, also only in all-wheel drive, and you can get a 2-litre naturally aspirated engine with a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed automatic. If there's one fault, it's that you've got to fiddle with this thing to get the bonnet down. This medium to small SUV has a ton of space in the back. Look, there's a good, I don't know, what's that, 10, 15 centimetres of space between me and the seat in front, and I'm 6 foot, and this seat is also set for me to drive. I think that's actually not too bad. There's a couple of cargo mats here in the back. There's also air vents, and there's a power outlet. This sunroof goes all the way back to here. That whole bit is sunroof. And it all opens up. I mean, that's amazing. Most cars do not do that. I've picked up a complete stranger. Well, not a complete stranger, but certainly a stranger. I mean, your missus says you're strange. David Brown.
Alan, thank you for that introduction.
Now, we're on a really crappy piece of Sydney road. Well, most of Sydney roads are really crappy, but this is a particularly crappy piece of road. O'Riordan Street has been chewed up by development over the last few years. It's really badly potholed. What did you think of the ride?
Yeah, it's very good, isn't it? Here we are in the Hyundai Tucson.
Yeah. And it's the Highlander, so it is the top model. The suspension and steering on this were Australian tuned out at Macquarie Park, where we're now headed, as it turns out. And they brought in someone from ZF Sachs who supply the dampers for this car. And that engineer worked with the Hyundai Australia engineers, and the ride, I have to say, is absolutely brilliant.
If you get really rough stuff, whether it throws you around a lot, quite a number of the sort of bigger, lumpier four-wheel drives or even utes tend to get tossed around if there's a dip.
Well, I have been over a little bit of light dirt roading, and now I'm showing a film that we prepared earlier, because there's not a lot of it around at the moment, of snow driving. And I think that's when the all-wheel drive and the suspension comes into its own. It really is brilliant. Now, if we could move on to the bits and bobs that this car has.
Can I say then, we're talking about a mid-size SUV.
Yes.
They have become more refined of late, haven't they? They are smoothing out the edges, I think, perhaps not in design, but in terms of what they provide. Has this stepped up again? Has this made another step?
I think so. First of all, they've nailed the outside. I think the outside looks smashing. They've got LED lights, they're 5-cell each side, and they are automatic with high beam assist, but they're not matrix, so they don't do this kind of twinkly thing. So, you know, it's high beam or low beam. The other thing this car has is this sunroof goes back like so. So that shade goes all the way back to the back.
Yeah.
And then this whole thing, look at this. this sunroof. Look how big that sunroof is.
Mm.
Now, one of the complaints people have about sunroofs is that they don't open very much.
Yes.
The screen on this is an 8-inch screen, and the low models get a 7-inch screen, but only the base model misses out on the Infinity sound system. Now, we'd turn it up and play the Infinity sound system for you, but YouTube will have a conniption, so we're not going to do that. The other thing is, the thing that I like about Kia and Hyundai is that because they use the same infotainment system, they've got direct select buttons down the side, and you can see currently I've got my Apple CarPlay activated. And that means that my phone down here can sit in the little cradle connected by a cable, and I can operate it hands-free just by using my voice. I can say, hey Siri, or what have you. The other things that I like about this, apart from the direct select buttons here, is that there's also direct buttons below for climate control, and I think that is really important. Below that, we've got 2 ports for power, an auxiliary input jack for auxiliary inputs, funnily enough, and the input for USB. That's power and input to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I like that particularly because it does give you a lot of options for charging things. So you could put a charger in there and have even more USB ports. Below that is the Qi wireless charging port, which you can't see because I've got all my junk in it.
The other thing is that they're easy to get to. They're not buried in the compartment that some cars are.
Now, you and I have had that complaint in the past where we've gone to plug a USB in, and what's your favourite saying?
There are 3 ways to plug a USB in. You plug it in and try the first way, it doesn't work. You try the second way, it doesn't work. You turn it around and try the way you tried the first time, and it does work. The
first way, the second way, and the right way.
Yes.
And every single time. You can lock these doors with the tailgate open. So, you know how when you're at, you've got your shopping in the back and you get out, you get all your shopping out and you close the boot and lock it, and then you've got to come around here and lock these doors with all of these ones with the fancy schmancy.
So you can lock them first.
So you can get out of the door, lock it, go around to the back, get your stuff out, and you don't have to come back and lock these doors.
You don't have to lock the doors while you've got all your stuff in your hand.
Genius. Now, let's move on to the cabin quality. Now, what is... this is a very Kia Hyundai look with the tablet with this asymmetric kind of bulge thing here. And you
like it square, don't you?
I like it square. The other thing about this that I like particularly is that I can put in my 4-inch display up on the driver's instruments here my digital speedo.
Yeah.
I can display a lot of other stuff by scrolling through the button, but I like my digital speedo. Other than that, the instruments are conventional. Up here on the steering wheel, these buttons, I think, they're so easy. Indicators are on the correct side, look at that, like so. And over here are the controls for wipers and what have you. Now, we're now at above the speed at which the active lane control takes over. So this has got active lane control keeping me centered. And you can see that again in the panel and the driver's instruments. Also, the other thing that's happened is this has got the fancy schmancy camera and radar autonomous emergency braking, which I think is rather amazing. So that means at these speeds, the car will not let you bang into something. The other good thing is the blind spot monitoring will work at these speeds. There's nothing beside me at the moment, so it's not showing up. But the other thing that it does is, let's just say you're parked at the side of the street or whatever, and you're going to pull out into the traffic. What this will do is warn you if there's someone approaching at high speed. Now, some cars actually won't let you open the door if there's someone approaching at high speed either, but there you go. So I think the autonomous emergency braking, that's one thing I think multi-speed autonomous emergency braking should be standard on every car. All of them still have the airbags, so they've got head airbags at the front, so for your face, thorax airbags and curtain airbags. Now the thing that the punters can't tell at the moment is how light this feels. But one thing I do notice is that you do have to plan your takeoffs. So for example, down here on the center console, we've got the drive mode controls. In sports mode, it's very nippy and the changes are held down. The auto hold will hold you in traffic. Now, if you forget that's on and you plant your foot, it suddenly lets go and you take off like a rocket. But there is quite a lot of turbo lag, I think, especially in the diesel. Now, we were talking before about the engines that are available. The diesel 8-speed automatic to me, except in sports mode, felt quite sluggish and dim-witted. And if I was to have written the report just on that car alone, it wouldn't have been a very good one. I didn't like it very much at all.
The other thing about diesels is that, and I've had this in a number of cars, they're fine once they come on song. And they don't need much revs to come on song, but they don't need very little revs to get going. So sometimes you can start at very low revs and it gets absolutely nowhere until it hits the 1750, 2000 revs.
So once that's the turbo spools up,
yes,
it takes off like a scolded cat. That's it. That's your lot. Hyundai Tucson Highlander. Don't forget, hit just there to subscribe.